Hi, hello, I'm Sam Harrison. I read, review, and discuss fantasy and science fiction books. And today, we are having the last chapter discussion for The Wandering Inn. So, I think it was like November last year when I started this kind of whole experience of reading The Wandering Inn. And I was reading chapter by chapter, one chapter a week, and coming back to talk to you guys about it. And I've now got to the point where people said it was a convenient stopping point for Volume 2. They told me that because I was saying to my buddy Lion from Hobbies of a Man that we would do another like spoiler catch-up spoiler discussion for Volume 2 like we did for Volume 1. And what it ended up being was a really good point for me to pause this weekly read along. So, if any of you have missed the last few episodes, I think I've been talking about this for over a month now, so I will get through this quickly. The weekly read along that I've been doing for The Wandering Inn is stopping here. I will be reviewing the clown interludes because they're kind of standalone, so I'll be reviewing them on Thursday's video this week. I was planning on reviewing those for today's video, but I got sent an early arc of one of my favourite series, and I really want to read that. So my priority is to read that as quick as I can and then get that video out. However, yes, The Wandering Inn has been a really excellent series. Volume 1, I had very, very few quibbles. So essentially, Volume 1, I had the single quibble of one chapter I thought was really quite bad, like not well written, and I didn't enjoy reading it. And that the ending felt like it kind of came out of nowhere. However, I do feel that ending has been followed up quite well in Volume 2. My big issue with Volume 2 is that this is like 6 years back in Pirate Arbor's writing journey. So I think that The Wandering Inn's been going for like 8 or so years, and in the like 2 or 3 years ago, Pirate Arbor rewrote Volume 1, and I read the rewrite. I didn't read the original. And then the Volume 2 is still the original. So I'm reading their writing ability, their quality of writing from a much older version of the story. And it's not been as good for me. So it's been hard for me to get as jazzed about reading it. And I'm sure you guys have noticed that I've had a lot of late episodes in Volume 2. And oftentimes it's because I've not been jazzed to read it, so I've been deprioritizing the reading until I'll be like, oh, I'll just finish this other book I'm reading and then get to The Wandering Inn. And then stuff has kind of like rolled on. And I think I've only missed one episode, but multiple have been late, including this one. So what I think is that will be best for me as a reader and for you guys as watchers, content people, content subscribers, etc., is I'm now going to start binge reading The Wandering Inn rather than reading it chapter by chapter. I only have like 15 hours, like according to the Kindle version, I only have 15 hours left of this ebook version of Volume 2. So I think that we're at the point now where I would rather just binge read these books and like try and read one a quarter, I think is going to be my schedule. And I want to try and get out one Wandering Inn video every month, because I know that a lot of you guys are just subscribed to the channel for Wandering Inn content. And I don't want you to, whilst I would suggest there's other great stuff out there for you to watch, I would like to keep making content for Wandering Inn fans, because a huge part of the early growth on the channel is because of The Wandering Inn, I think. When I started reading The Wandering Inn and then started reading Wheel of Time shortly afterwards, the channel really exploded with subscribers in a way it hasn't really since. So from like December through February last year, the channel was growing at a rate that it never has since. Like, I was getting like over 100 subscribers a month, and now I get between 30 and 70, 80. But yeah, so that was a really amazing time to be running this channel. However, as I said, I still want to make content for you guys. I really love talking about The Wandering Inn, and I don't want to miss out on doing so just because I'm only reading it once per quarter. So a lot of people have asked for things like theory videos. They've asked for character tier lists, and people have. I think that I'm going to also do stuff like with the clown interludes, where there are like big chunks that I can review together as its own kind of thing. I'll be doing that as well. So obviously, like if it's like a single interlude, I won't bother. But I've seen, like when I've been flicking through the chapters just to see how long chapters are and stuff like that, I've seen things like the Antinium Wars, and there's like 3 or 4 chapters there. So stuff like that, I'll be able to do a dedicated video for. So I do want you guys to know that I will be doing multiple dedicated videos probably per book. I like the idea also of doing a spoiler-free and spoiler-filled version of each review, which is what I do for some of my favourite books. I do the spoiler-filled reviews for Wheel of Time, for example, with another person. I might see if Lion wants to do those as well. But it really is for me a complete toss-up. One of my other buddies is actually reading Wandering Inn as well right now. So maybe I'll see if she wants to come on the channel and talk about her favourite stuff. But for now, I said I was going to be quick, and this has been 6 minutes. This is the last ever after chapter discussion. So also welcome to Barry, my lovely white cat, who's going to drool all over me, and that's going to be fun. And also, he's sitting right next to the microphone, so you might get a bit of purring on the mic. Anyway, so the big things that happen in these chapters. So we get to see Leonette, who is quite funny. I listened to the audiobook for like, I don't know, maybe 10-15 minutes of this chapter while I was making some coffee. And when I read her name, I read Leonette because that's a real name. And then the audiobook narrator, Andrea Parsano, she pronounced it lion. And that made me laugh. And I think what we're going to do is I'm going to continue to call her Leonette or Leon, exactly the way that I mispronounce tons of other character names. So we get to see a lot of the Leonette stuff from Erin's point of view and her point of view. So we got to see a little bit of her joining the crew in the Torren chapter. And obviously, as you guys know, we love Torren. We support him. He's the best. But we got to see a little bit of that. And the next chapter is like a lot of fight. I can't remember whether the fighting happens at the end of the first chapter or the beginning of the second. Because I read them both back to back on the weekend, and it's now Monday lunchtime as I record this. I think that what we'll do is we'll just talk about my favourite bits of both, rather than going deep into kind of blow by blow stuff. So it's really funny that Erin, Leonette is kind of an infuriating character. She's not very likable. Um, it does feel like Pirate Arbor is setting her up for something. I don't feel like Pirate Arbor writes characters in a way. I don't feel like Pirate Arbor writes characters that aren't being set up for something. I feel like every character they write has an arc, they have a journey and a destination. Um, Obviously, some are, sooner than later. We've got characters. I mean, actually, no characters have died, have they? I mean, well, the Horns have died actually. So anyway, yeah, we've got characters that are on certain paths, and I do believe that Leonette has an interesting story, and I feel like there's kind of two ways that this is going to go. Either she's going to like properly defect and become an antagonist in the series, or what I think is most likely is that she is going to end up as like a fan favorite, like redemption arc style character, and that's where I feel like she's going based on what I'm reading, because she's like really objectionable, and oftentimes the only reason you would launch a character when they were that objectionable is if they were specifically going through one of those two arcs. So they're gonna go off the deep end and betray everyone and become a true antagonist, or they're going to have a redemption arc, or sometimes it's a mix of the both. To be honest, I believe the character's name's Edward in Narnia, who like joins the Winter Queen, but then eventually becomes like a heroic figure. Is it the Winter Queen, White Queen? I'm not sure. I haven't read Narnia for like 30 years. Anyway, so yeah, I really like what we see with Leonette. I like that she's a princess, right? And we know she's a princess from Pirate Arbor's description and writing of her. But she seems loath to specifically say that she's royalty. So obviously there's definitely something going on there. We know she's related to Magnolia, and also she must be related to Yvonne, because Yvonne is related to Magnolia. If Leonette is related to Magnolia, that makes her part of one of the, like, I think they're called the five families, like the people who rule. Don't lie actually on the microphone, bud. That's not allowed. You can do whatever else you want. So yeah, Leonette is obviously a very important person, and she's used to being obeyed. She's used to not doing anything for herself, and she's really got to get her ass in gear and to recognise that she isn't important anymore. She's the barmaid. Seems actually to be more like the cleaning lady for the Wandering Inn, and I like that Erin got so frustrated with her. She was like, Torrin, you take over, you train her. And Torrin just beats her up. And then, so that was quite funny. We are, unfortunately, seeing some quite sadistic turns from Torrin. I loved Torrin in Volume 1, and everything I've seen of him in Volume 2, up until... I feel like recently Torrin is kind of taking a bit of a turn, and I don't know where that's going. I'll be honest with you guys. I like him a lot as a character, and I like the way that he's evolving and growing into his own sentient person. The issue that I have is that the person he's growing into is one that I'm not a huge fan of. So we'll have to see where Pirate Arbor goes with that. I feel like that is a story that feels quite primed to take place in the background of this volume. So, I mean, God knows how... God knows how long that will actually take or anything like that. But it does feel like that's something that probably will get resolved here. And like I said, I only have 15 hours of the ebook left to read. So in an ideal world, I'd really like to finish this volume this year, for multiple reasons. One, it can take place as part of my 2024 Goodreads, and I've spent a lot of time reading this book this year, so it'd be nice to count it. And two, because it would be nice to close that chapter, if that makes sense, to close my reading on that for this year. And I'd be interested to see whether it would get into my top 10 books of the year. Currently, I would not say Volume 2 has a chance of being in that top 10, although obviously things do change. Volume 1, there is a possible chance that it will end up in my top 10 because I did finish it this year. So yeah, there's a chance Volume 1 might be in my top 10. Volume 2, I do obviously have to finish it. If Volume 2 improves and I really like the way it ends, it has a chance of overtaking Volume 1. I do really only like to have one book from each series in my top 10. Like, I've read 10 Wheel of Time books this year, or will have read 10 Wheel of Time books this year, so I don't want to be like, okay, here's my top 10 and 6 books of Wheel of Time. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. I'm still building the top 10 right now. I don't tend to record it until a couple of days before Christmas, and then last year I released it on Christmas Day. Maybe I'll release it on New Year's Eve this year. I honestly don't know. Yeah, so there you have it. What else was I thinking about? So yeah, I really enjoyed the Leonette stuff. Kershia still very much is like, she's very upset with Erin, and she's like, unless you stop doing this with Leonette, like, she's basically saying, like, I'm cutting you off, we can't be friends, I can't do business with you, which is interesting. I was never a huge fan of her as a character. I think she was probably my least favourite major character in Volume 1. And the like the thing with the like collecting of spell books and stuff, that isn't really referenced until they're all blown up, and like she just left them in her stall, which she leaves out at night. Seems silly, and honestly kind of feels like it's her fault more than anything. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Kershia. So not particularly bothered about her being less of a character in the series. I'd much rather spend more time with like Klibich or Olism, and Cheeria and Pisces, and they're much more my speed in terms of characters. I feel, yeah. Also, the voice acting, the like narration voice for Kershia and Celis is actually kind of annoying, so it's nice to have the more human or human-esque characters around. What's up, bud? He's really upset. His ears are like flattening back because I'm talking to you guys, but unfortunately, bud, I'm in charge of these videos, not you. Okay? Ready? Gonna carry on? So, those are like the big events and the most interesting stuff that happens in that chapter. And then Erin like goes out into the snow and is like, look, I'm not going to let Leonette die. I know that sending her off, no matter what I give her, she can't support herself, she can't look after herself, so letting her leave is a death sentence. So I have to work with her, I have to work on her, which makes a lot of sense. You know, great power, great responsibility. As a Spider-Man fan, I understand this concept. And I think that we've got... oh, no, don't lie on the microphone. You're going to ruin the sound for everyone. He's just having too much of a nice time, and he keeps lying down on the microphone. So, yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah, so she shouts out to the void, as it were, like, you can't, you know, I'm not going to let her die. And then, like, a ton of shadows stand up, and it's the visiting gnolls from that are here to see, like, to kind of have the like gnoll gathering, and the visiting gnolls are like, well, she screwed us over, so we're going to kill her, and if you don't let us in, we're going to kill you too. And just as that happens, and then Pisces and Cheeria like come out to defend her, and then Tauren turns up with his armor on, which is cool. And then the Griffin Hunters turn up, and then the are they called like the half men, or like they're like basically the freaks and geeks of the wandering and adventuring world. So there's now 2 gold rank teams. One of that the freaks and geeks crew are super interesting. I love those dudes. So we have one that's like half crab. There's one that's like a parasite that possesses corpses, and then we have like a giant. There's I'm a big fan of weird fantasy characters and races, and the like crab dude, love that guy. Really interested in that guy, and they try and get Cheeria to join their crew because she's a half elf. But Cheeria's like, well, I'm kind of already starting my own thing, and she's reviving the Horns of Hammerad. So we now have 2 gold ranked adventuring teams. I believe the Griffin Hunters are staying at the inn, or want to stay at the inn. And so that is going to be fun to have more powerful characters around. I like the idea of the guy with the great sword who doesn't wear armor because all of his clothing is enchanted to the point where it's just as good as armor. And everyone, and yeah, the half men try and recruit Cheeria by going like, look, just because we're a gold rank team doesn't mean we can't take on silver ranks, and we'll give you all the magical items. Also, I forgot the Antinium turn up as well. Like, it's a real like melee outside the inn, and it's like I will say, I think Pirate Arbor's action writing was better in the rewrite of Volume 1, because obviously they've had years more practice, and I found that because the action went on for a very long time, I found my attention wandering a little during those sections, and while it's good, it's not like, it wasn't like the kind of visceral action that I'm used to reading. And like, I've just finished reading Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson, which has some incredible action set pieces, like multiple across the book. Like, we're talking like 20 or 30 really high quality, fantastic action sequences. There's so much action in that book. However, it's really well offset by character moments, and The Wandering Inn nails character moments and nails those interactions, and lore and world building stuff, like all of the half men explaining what their deal is to Erin was really interesting. But the action, I'm still waiting for Pirate Arbor's action writing to kind of catch up. But it's fine, because I'm not here for The Wandering Inn for action. But the problem that you get with that is when a chapter is entirely action, it's less interesting. The Tauren action was good in the Tauren chapter, so that was good. Overall, it's kind of a bittersweet episode. It's a nice place to finish, I have to say. It does feel like we're at the end of this part of the arc of the book. So it's good that we're now moving on. And I have already read most of the clown chapters, so I'm going to finish those and then record the review probably in a couple of hours. But yeah, they're good as well. No spoilers on my thoughts aside from that, but I will talk to you guys about that on Thursday in our usual Wandering Inn slot. From This week onwards, though, there will be no more Wandering In weekly content. So that's going to be stopping, as I said before. I just want to say, as we reach the end, if you've been watching these weekly videos and you've watched every one, you're amazing. I'm incredibly grateful. And thank you so much for supporting the channel when it was small and for coming back to the channel as it's grown. And I really hope that by switching over from this chapter model to the binge reading model, I would really like to bring more people into the Wandering In, as I have got, we're at the point now where this community is over 1,000 subscribers, and it feels like I see the same names on the Wandering In videos every week in the comments and stuff. We're seeing probably the same 100 people, and I'd really like to bring more people into this series. And in fact, my Wandering In Volume 1 video did really well, and it has convinced a couple of friends to read the series. So I'm really hoping that being able to cover it on kind of better on a book by book basis will help bring more people to our community of Wandering In fans. But that's probably everything. So while I spent most of this video talking about myself and my channel, I do hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you would like to chat with me about these episodes, these particular chapters, please drop down below into the comments. And I will speak to you guys on Thursday to clown around a little. Goodbye.